What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. The Premier League is back, and you know what time it is. It's North London derby time. Tomorrow, 12:30 kickoff at the Emirates. It is the big clash between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur. And, everyone's going on about how much of a big game it is. And for this stage of the season, I mean, can it get much bigger for this stage of the season?
Top of the table clash between two London giants.
Between one London giant, yeah.
One London, exactly. One North London giant and one South London minnow.
Exactly, sure. One South London nomads. You know what I mean?
But look, in terms of how the game is set up, it's really finely poised. Like Arsenal playing good football, top of the league. They've won 6, drawn 1. Yet Tottenham plucking away, getting points on the board. Not necessarily playing the best football, but being very solid, very well organised. And we know we have the quality up front. If any team leaves space in behind, we can exploit them. And that's exactly what Arsenal are going to do. So when you're thinking about... Also, you got to think about our record in big games under Antonio Conte. 3-0 at home to Arsenal last season, 1-1 at Anfield, 3-2 at the Etihad as well. So
just don't mention Chelsea.
We've got a 2-2 draw at Chelsea. Don't worry about that. 2-2 draw. So we have a great record, and he seems to really know how to set up in these big games to exploit the opposition and get the points. And we know that Arsenal are going to come at us. We know that they're confident right now. They're going to go for the throw. They're going to leave all the space in behind. And it's up to Spurs to have the quality when we do get our chance in possession to really hurt them. And that's what's going to define whether we can take all 3 points or whether we're going to struggle to get anything out of this game.
Coming into this game, right, when you're usually coming into this game, you're always thinking, oh, it's going to be the same as it is all the time. Arsenal going to do a number on us. Spurs not going to show up. But now we do have Antonio Conte, and like you say, the record in the big games and what have you, and the way we're playing our football now, how dynamite we are on the counter-attack. We saw at Manchester United how vulnerable they can be defending the counter-attack. Are you looking at this game a bit differently, maybe, as previous years?
Not necessarily. Because I think there were times under Pochettino where we were just as strong, yet we would always struggle. So, and I was always confident going into those games. I was confident when we were under Pochettino, we'd go to the Emirates and try and get a result. We kind of every time, more often than not, we kind of failed to turn up and end up losing the game. But I think the difference is now we have Conte, who's got this experience in on these big occasions, and the fact that he's already shown us what he can do on these big occasions as well. I think that that's what gives me a bit more confidence going into this game than maybe in previous, and the fact that he's already shown for Tottenham what he can do in these big games. Whereas Pochettino, for all the good work he did, one of his biggest downfalls was his record away at the Big Six. That was always a struggle for us, even at our best under Pochettino. We would always struggle in those big games because we would maybe be a bit naive in those big games. We'd continue playing the same way that we always did. But Conte has already shown his tactical nous in these games, and the fact that we beat City last year, and deservedly so as well, that is an indication that we shouldn't be scared going into this game.
So you are thinking of it a bit differently then?
No, maybe I'm thinking a bit differently maybe from the past few years, but maybe not when we had Pochettino. I was confident we were going to get a result under Poch, even though we didn't. I was confident before the game we would. Now, I'm feeling that under Conte, there is... Obviously, you've got to be worried with the situation because Arsenal are top of the league and playing really well, and we have a bad record at the Emirates. But if anyone's going to get a result there, it's going to be Conte. He's like the perfect man for it. So we do have the guy, perfect man for the job. And I think we have the perfect setup to kind of combat what Arsenal are going to bring us.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and that's why I'm going into this a bit more confident than maybe I have been the past couple of years. I mean, there's one part of me that says that, it's just going to be more of the same like we do every year at the Emirates. But then there's that part of me watching that game at Old Trafford against Man United, Arsenal Man United. I mean, that game, if we would have played them that day at Old Trafford with that high line, Saliba was caught out a couple of times. I mean, I think we would have beaten them that day. And I think if it's a carbon copy of those performances, if Arsenal are as naive as they were, and we are, as structurally aware and maybe as strong as we know we can be on the counter-attack, I think there's going to be so many chances for us on the day. I really believe that.
Yeah, we just got to make sure that at the beginning of the game, we don't have a start like we did last year where we're 3-0 down after half an hour. We know that because that Arsenal are so confident right now and the fans are, getting behind the team, we know that the Emirates is going to be loud tomorrow probably, although it's an early kickoff, so maybe.
Yeah, but we need to do our best to shut them up as early as possible. Yeah. And I can't stress. I mean, I know I say this a lot of times, but I can't stress maybe more in this game than maybe previous games is how important that early goal is. Or even the first goal, because I think that Arsenal are going to come out, they're going to go full pelt, and if they get that early goal, that first goal, that's going to give them the opportunities to sit back and not really give us too many chances on the counter-attack.
I don't think there's any danger of them doing that. To be honest, until the last 20 minutes of the game. I think they're going to really come at us, even if they get an early goal.
I've seen them, even this season, get a few early goals in the first half, and then second half,
a few early
completely
goals.
Sit back. Yeah, 1 or 2 early goals in that first. Even in this. Because, we're notoriously not so good in the first halves this season, even last season a bit. And we need to kind of limit them to maybe just 1 goal maximum in that first half. Because if they get 2 goals in that first half, it's going to be danger.
We just need to make it a battle. That's what we need to do. We need to stop them playing the pretty football. We need to break up the play. Even if I don't think we necessarily need an early goal. We just need to make sure that, first of all, we don't concede early and that we frustrate them. Because if we can make things as really, really difficult for them, and we can all of a sudden make it very difficult for them to create any sort of chances or restrict them to very low percentage chances, then I think that they will start to get frustrated, and then once that happens, they might be tempted to pile a few more men forward, and that will leave the space for us, and then that is exactly what we want. So I think Conte knows that. The only worry I have is that if we do sit too deep and we afford Arsenal a bit too much space in and around our penalty box, they do have the tools to hurt us with people like Odegaard and Martinelli and Xhaka even, who's got a decent shot on him. So you don't want to you still need to be aggressive, is my point. You still need to get in their faces, but what the most important thing is to clog up the space, make sure that you're denying them as much space as possible, but still be aggressive. Still, when you do get the ball, try and be positive and be on the front foot when you do get the ball, because there will be space if we can get the ball forward quickly. And now I'll tell you something, in transition, there's very few teams in the Premier League who are as good as us at getting the ball forward quickly in transition into space. So that could really play in our favour. But if we do like what we did against Chelsea, if we're too standoffish and we're not aggressive enough, or we're not getting close enough to them, then all of a sudden we're going to have a problem, and that's what we've got to avoid.
Yeah, you're right there. And on the flip side of that, if we get that early goal, if we get a goal in the first half, Arsenal, do you think that they make that same mistake? I know it was a bit later in the game, but do you think that if it comes to it, they do make that same mistake and go completely gung-ho and leave us even more options to go forward?
If we get an early goal?
If we get a goal, maybe go into lead half-time 1-0.
Yeah, I think Arteta is going to have confidence in how Arsenal are playing right now. He's going to want to show that Arsenal are the real deal. That's what he's going to want to show in this game. And so and I think even if they were playing Man City, they would probably go hell for leather. I really believe that. But because it's Spurs, because we took the Champions League off them next year, you saw All or Nothing, how these things get to him and they stick in his mind. And he doesn't just want to show for himself and for the rest of the Premier League that they mean business, but he wants revenge. 100%. You saw what when they played Brentford, how he brought up that Tony tweet. I'm sure he'll be bringing up something for Spurs as well about how we, how we were during the 3-0 win, probably something that he picked up on, whatever it was, or even the Stop Crying Arteta song. I'm sure he'll be playing that before the ground, and make sure you stick that back in their faces.
How do you think they are preparing? Because he's used up the Thomas Edison light bulb. He's used up playing You'll Never Walk Alone at Anfield. What is he going to have loads of cockerels running around the training pitch this time or something?
Just chasing them.
Is that what he's going to do?
This is what you got to be prepared for, guys. Come on, guys. He's going to have what's what's it called? Not glory. What's it called when the Spurs go marching in, just bellowing out in the training ground.
See, this is how loud the away fans are going to be. You need to combat that. Use it as motivation. Idiot.
So look, I'm telling you, he's going to want to embarrass us tomorrow. That's what he's going to want to do. He's probably going to get the photographer back in to give another team talk. He's going to try and get them as motivated as possible. So I've got no doubt in my mind they're going to come for us. And it's going to be, and there is going to be a wave. Definitely in the first 15-20 minutes, there will be a wave of energy, and the fans will be on their side.
That storm.
100%. But if we can do that, we've shown that there are very few teams more dangerous than us when you give us space. And if we can just, what we need to do is stop Arsenal getting wave and wave after attack. We need to break them up. And we need to make sure that when we do get on the ball, we're hurting them. We can't just be giving long balls and giving it straight back to them, allowing them to just attack us. When we do get the ball, we need to show, even if it's briefly, we need to show that we're a threat, and we need to make them think. And that's the one thing I'm worried about, is if they can pen us in. That's what I'm worried about a bit. But I'm hopeful that we can set up in a way that allows us to be very, very threatening once we do get the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how we can hurt them and how they can potentially hurt us on the tactics board in a minute. But let's talk about the form going into it. The past 5 games between Spurs and Arsenal, I mean, it's clear just home and away makes so much of a difference in this fixture. We've lost our last 2 times. Well, we've lost more than our last 2 times there. But in terms of the last 5 games, we've lost last 2 times at the Emirates. Last 3 games at home, we've won. That last one actually shouldn't be 2-0, it should be 2-1 that we won. But what is it about home and away in this fixture that just makes it such an advantage? Because you look at other derbies and it doesn't seem to be the same case. What is it about the North London derby that it's just like literally every time we're away, every time we're at home, it's just so difficult?
It's just it's the fans. The fans can make all the difference, and I think that's case in point. Even though we've been better than them recently, away from home we can't do it, and even when they're better than us away, when they come to our ground, it's also very difficult for them. I think we've won 8 of our last 11 home games against Arsenal. They've won 7 of their last 11 home games against us. The only thing is they've drawn the other 4, and we drew 2 and lost 1 of the other home games, so they're unbeaten and we're not, but we've actually won more games than them in the last 11. So home advantage is massive, and that's the way it usually goes in this fixture. That's why you've got to be a bit nervous, because
once in the last 28 games or something we've only won there.
Yeah, it's not a great record. But then their record at our ground's also not great recently, so it's a bit tit for tat in that sense. But we have to Well, if anyone could break it, Antonio Conte is the man. We could easily go there, set up as we have done in previous big games, and take all 3 points. And I actually think if we can frustrate them on Saturday, I really think that because they're such a young side and they're full of energy and full of excitement, if things pretty much, except for the United game, have really gone their way this season. They haven't had too much trouble in a lot of these games. But if we can start giving them time to think about and start giving them a lot of trouble, start to frustrate them, they could start to run out of ideas.
That's the thing. That's the thing. We need to get under their skins, because we know they've got players like Gabriel, they've got players like Xhaka that will lose their heads in the first instance. I mean, we've seen it so many times. Gabriel, after Arsenal had such a great first half against Man City last season, where they're so happy with that defeat and what an amazing game they played. Gabriel, in the first moments of the second half, loses his head, gets sent off, throws away the game. Xhaka, how many times have we seen him lose his head and throw away the game time after time after time? We need to get under their skin. We need to get in their faces. And who better to do that than Antonio Conte, Richarlison, Højbjerg, all the shithousery that we've got in our team, Romero. That can be a very key part in this game, can't it?
100%. I think we have to be very smart, because we have to realise that Arsenal are a very good team. Like, there's no beating around that. They are a good footballing team. They've improved from last season. If on the pitch with people like Jesus, they've become a lot more technical. So and their young players have gotten a year older, and that makes a big difference in that stage of their career. So it always used to be when they were under Wenger, they used to play beautiful football, but when they went away to Bolton or away to Stoke and they were being roughed up a bit, then they would struggle. And that's kind of what we have to implement a bit, that physical side. We have to be aggressive. I don't want to that has been for me the number one problem for Spurs in these first halves. It's not even that we've been bad, but it's not even that we've been awful playing football and stuff. It's more that we lack aggression, we lack that energy. That is the big thing for me,
especially in that first half before Skippy came on last season. I mean, how bad was that? That was probably
one of the worst first halves ever
I've ever seen. And it was just it lacked so much fight, so much aggression, so much will to just go on and attack the other side. And it showed that in the scores, didn't it? Half time, was it 2-0, 3-0?
Yeah, 100%. But I'm saying this season, there's too many games where we're not getting near enough to the opposition. For example, the
West Ham, Chelsea,
West Ham, the Marseille at home, even first half, we're not getting close enough to the guys.
Majority of first half, to be honest.
You know what I mean? We're not getting close enough. We're not getting in the opposition's faces. Then second half, we come out and all of a sudden we're there, and all of a sudden we're difficult to play against, and we can actually press. But in the first half, it's not happening. If we do that on Saturday, then we could be in trouble if we come out in that sluggish kind of reactive mode. We can't do that. We need to be super aggressive, and that's why I'll go for a 3-5-2.
Yeah,
that's one of the main reasons.
I completely agree with the 3-5-2, especially with Kulusevski out as well. Let's look at the form of the two teams coming into it. Obviously, Arsenal sitting top of the league, Spurs sitting in third in the league so far. Arsenal with 4 wins out of their last 5, Spurs with 3 wins out of their last 5 in all competitions. Very similar stats here. Spurs have scored 11, Arsenal have scored 10 in the last 5. Spurs have conceded 4, whilst Arsenal have conceded 6. Home form is completely identical with 5 wins out of 5, and then the away form, Spurs stuttering a tiny bit with 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss, that loss coming in Lisbon, and Arsenal with 4 wins and a loss in their away form. I mean, do you read too much into this, or is it a London derby and anything can happen and form goes out the window?
I think both. Look, form, I don't think you can read too much into that form. Obviously, home form, both teams are really great at home. Away from home, Arsenal maybe a bit better right now than us according to the form, but we've shown we can go away from home this season and get results. So I don't think you can read too much into the form, because both teams are in great form. I think it's all about the derby. I think it's been proven over the last few years that home and away advantage does make a big difference in this fixture. So I think that's what you got to think about when you're looking at this game. I think defensively, offensively, I think we've scored 1 more goal than them, but they've created more chances. And defensively, I think we'll even kill. I think 7 goals each conceded. So pretty even going into this game in form-wise.
Yeah, I mean, since we played them last season, they do have the additions of Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, a few other players which I don't expect to play. I mean, how much has Gabriel Jesus impressed you this season? Yeah,
look, he's done well. To be honest, I think he's done really well. 4 goals in 7 games and 3 assists as well. He's had a brilliant start to the season. My only thing is when Arsenal, I know maybe in the Europa League he might not play as much, but with the games now coming thick and fast, will he be able to keep up this amazing? Because he plays with such intensity, right? He plays at 100 miles an hour. That's how he's playing at the moment. He's dribbling, he's pressing everyone like 100 miles an hour.
Wait till he steps up against Romero, mate.
Exactly. First of all, let him get roughed up a bit. But when the games are coming thick and fast, will he be able to keep up that intensity for all those games? And when he drops off in intensity, I don't think he's the same player, Gabriel Jesus. Whereas when you have Harry Kane, when he has that hybrid of playmaker striker role, that's very difficult to stop. Even when he's having to play multiple times, he can drop deep, he can go further forward. So I'll be interested to see how many goals Jesus actually ends up with this season. He's had a brilliant start, and he's a good player. We saw that at Man City. There's no getting around it. He was a good striker at Man City, but I haven't seen necessarily a different player just yet, because I do still think he's wasting quite a lot of chances right now, even though he scored a few goals. So I think he's had a great start. He's definitely a massive upgrade on Lacazette, that's for sure, and Aubameyang. But let's see if he can keep it up for the whole season. Yeah,
what you were saying about Gabriel Jesus, how he's playing at 100 miles an hour, I kind of feel like that about the whole Arsenal team. And I kind of feel like they're playing at their peak right now. I don't know how much better they can actually get. And I think that what you're saying about Gabriel Jesus can be maybe relayed onto the whole Arsenal team. Is like, how long can they actually keep this up for with such a tiny squad as well?
Yeah, I think because at the moment they're playing really intensely, and it's brilliant for them to watch, and they're playing really well. But it's whether when right now we've got 13 games from now to the World Cup. It's like when these games are coming thick and fast, maybe the intensity drops off a bit, and maybe they're not going to be as aggressive, and they're not going to push as high sometimes because they're lacking that energy. It's about how they respond to that. We've seen with Spurs, we can kind of sit deep and soak up pressure, and we're quite good in that sense. When Arsenal maybe have to do a bit more defending, we'll have to see how they respond. We have to have how they respond to that. It might be difficult for them.
In terms of who might make the game, who might not for Arsenal, you got Smith Rowe, El Neni, Reece Nelson definitely out. In his press conference, Arteta today says Zinchenko, Tierney and Partey all part of the squad. So that kind of tells to me that they'll probably fine and definitely be playing. Cedric Suarez is a doubt. In terms of the guy that they have in the middle, don't want to mention his name. What do you think? How much does he bring to the team, and how much of a plus is it for them that he's going to be playing?
I'll tell you something, they've rushed him back before and it hasn't worked out.
Against us as well.
Exactly. So I wouldn't necessarily say just because he's playing, he's going to be at his best. If he's had a little niggle and they decide to start him, that could backfire. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. But if he's at his best, he's a massive plus for them, because he gives them that strength and physicality in the centre, which they don't really have without him. Xhaka doesn't really bring it. Lokonga doesn't really bring it. So if without him, they're a lot more gettable in the centre. And I think as well, he's very press resistant. He can be very, very difficult to get the ball off. But if he's not playing at 100%, we've seen before he can be a bit of a liability. We've seen it. I remember when was it against Palace away? He just wasn't 100%. He looked awful, and he was completely overrun. But he stayed on the pitch till late on in the game. And if that is the case, then that could be something if we are going to play a free in the middle, that could be something we can exploit for sure. But if he is going to be fully fit, then it's not unbeatable, but it makes it a much more difficult game for us for sure.
Let's bring up the ones to watch. I mean, we've spoken about Gabriel Jesus, this other player. Let's talk about William Saliba, because obviously he's had a standout season so far, 7 games in, and would you say he's transformed their defence, or he's made it much, much better? That's for sure. He just looks like he's got an air of like someone that's going to be a top defender in the near future. And I'm actually quite worried about Saliba.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a problem. I'm not going to lie, Saliba, because he's 6'4". He's a giant. He's really composed on the ball. He's really good. He's a really good passer of the ball, and he's got really good recovery pace as well. So when it comes to having counterattacks against us, like for example, like if you're Heung-min Son, right, and they've got Gabriel and White at the back, you fancy your chances. But when Saliba's there, all of a sudden, that's a bit more of a problem.
Although he was caught out a couple of times against Man United.
He was, and Rashford did get the better of him. And there's no bad look. He's still young. He's 21 years of age, so he's still going to be learning. But it's definitely a case that he allows them, I think, to push even further forward, because they know if a ball goes over the top or in behind, more often than not, he's going to be there sweeping up.
But maybe that even plays into our favour a bit, because that might give them a bit more of a sense of they can push a bit higher up the pitch, and that will leave us even more space. Because I still, even how good Saliba has been, I still fancy Son's chances against him in a foot race.
Yeah, I mean, I fancy Son's chances against most people who win a foot race, but I remember it's like when Liverpool when Van Dijk was in his prime. I know Saliba's not Van Dijk, but he's such an imposing figure there that he kind of turns you off, like even taking him on him. He makes you check back and just pass it instead of actually going for it. And I think at the moment it's not even necessarily because he's that good. It's just because of his stature. He has that aura about him that if you take him on, you're going to come out second best. And that is a bit of an issue when you're looking for counterattacks and you're looking to exploit that space. If he's covering that space, that can be a bit of an issue. having said that, if you can get the run on him and you can time your run perfectly, if Son times his run perfectly against anyone, he can get the run on him.
That's what I'm saying.
So obviously it doesn't mean there's no hope, but I think it makes it so much tougher. I really believe it makes it so much tougher to create those chances on the breakaway when you got someone like Saliba at the back compared to a White Gabriel partnership. And as well, he adds that physicality as well in aerial duels and stuff like that, whereas I would fancy Kane up against Gabriel and White in an aerial duel, but up against Saliba, I don't really fancy him in that duel.
I still fancy Kane. I mean, you've seen Kane win aerial duels against the best of defenders, never mind William Saliba.
I don't think Kane's good in the air, but I don't think he beats people the best in the air.
You know how, I know it wasn't aerially, but like that game against Man City, he was so physically dominating over their centre-backs. I mean, who did they have at the back that day?
They had Diaz,
Ruben Diaz and Laporte.
But they're not as physical as Saliba. But they're
Ruben
more ball-playing centre-backs.
Ruben Diaz is still a physical presence at the back there.
But not on Saliba's level. He isn't nowhere near.
You don't think he's Saliba's level?
Not physically, no.
Wow.
Not physically. I don't think he is. And I think he's positionally and from on the ball point of view, and like in terms of like his defensive ability, he's for sure better than Saliba. But when you're talking purely physical, Saliba for sure wins out against Diaz.
Interesting. Let's go and look at how we can potentially beat them this weekend. We're going to bring up our new tactics board, so let's go and have a look at that.
Wait, we're going to do BetMate first? Or?
We'll do it after. Let's have a look at the tactics first.
All right, let's do it. All right. So this is how I envisage both teams are going to line up. This is our prediction for both starting lineups. So I've gone with Spurs for the time being to be a 3-5-2 in the middle.
Do you not think there's a chance of maybe Skippy playing in this one instead of Basuma, or you think definitely Basuma's probably nailed on if it is a 3-5-2?
I reckon it's more likely going to be Basuma, just because first of all, Skip hasn't had too much game time, and when he mentioned the 3-5-2 in his press conference, he mentioned Basuma having a really good connection with Bentancur and Højbjerg. Didn't mention Skippy, and Basuma came off in the last game against Leicester, and he said that Basuma's more used to playing in a 3 from his old team with Brighton,
and also
so he knows the role.
It's the first time we're hearing maybe Conte speak positively about Basuma coming into the team now.
Yeah. Definitely. I think it's more because I still think he probably has reservations about him being in a 2, but I think he's more comfortable right now with him being in a 3 with having the cover of Højbjerg and Bentancur with him, and he can do that defensive duty. So I think if we're going to play a 3, I think it has to be him and him at the base as well, because I think Højbjerg and Bentancur right now are much more used to getting in the offensive zones than Basuma is. I've gone for Perisic at wing back, although that could be an issue because how I envisage Arsenal, I envisage a lot of the game is going to be set up like this, like with our back three here. Perisic and Emerson pinned back by Martinelli. You have Tierney.
You worried about that Perisic against Saka?
Yeah, I am a bit. If it is Perisic, I would be worried about. I would be worried about it quite a bit, to be honest.
Would you potentially think about starting Sessegnon?
Yeah, I would. The only problem with that is you lose a bit going forward, but I would definitely consider Sessegnon just because defensively he's a bit stronger.
The thing is, though, in a 3-5-2, and if you have Sessegnon and Emerson at wing back, is there enough going forward there?
That's what I'm worried about as well. I don't want to be penned in too much. That if we have an out ball, that we're just way too penned in. That's what I'm also worried about. I envisage a lot of the game, it's going to literally be like this. You see the wingers very far forward for Arsenal on both ends. You got Odegaard and Granit Xhaka tucked in the central areas. You got Gabriel Jesus floating around this kind of area, and you've got Gabriel, Saliba pushed up to halfway line with Partey sitting as well.
We need to do anything we can not to let Jesus isolate Eric Dyer. That's got to be such a key point of our defending. And, Romero, Longley, whoever it be, Højbjerg, any of the midfield have to come back and constantly support Dyer, because we've seen what he's like one-on-one sometimes, Eric Dyer. And Gabriel Jesus, such a tricky customer.
Yeah.
We need to stop that happening.
As well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the problem is with Arsenal pushing... The problem is with Arsenal pushing so far out wide, they know that they got White on the overlap here. Then you've got Saka on the out wide and cutting inside as well. You're going to need Perisic tracking back, or Sessegnon tracking back in this area. You're going to need probably Højbjerg coming over as well, and you're going to need Longley in that area here. I don't know where that arrow's come from, but whatever. One sec, sorry. Just get rid of that. Oh, whatever. I don't know how to get rid of it. And you're going to need Longley coming over here. So the thing is, you're going to need Basuma to kind of drop in. If you're not going to be, you're going to have him patrolling this area. The problem is the way Arsenal play, it's going to open up all sorts of spaces in these areas because you're dragging all these players over to this side, because they and the same with the other side. You're going to have Romero, you're going to have Emerson, you're going to have Bentancur over this area if Xhaka decides to come into that area, and you're going to have Romero coming over. So Dyer is going to have to be on his A game here. How Arsenal play, that's just reality of the situation. However, if that's how I envisage most of the game's going to go. If we do get
especially
the ball,
first half anyway, for
sure. But if we do get the ball, if we can win the ball, especially in this midfield area, then hopefully we're gonna a bit like how we did against Liverpool when we played that 3-5-2. We could have a situation when we got Kane and Son isolated here against Gabriel and Saliba, and if we can have one of these three midfielders breaking forward and potentially one of the wing backs, that could definitely be a problem for Arsenal, and that's probably how we're gonna get a lot of joy out of them. Obviously, if we had Richarlison there, we become more of a threat. The only problem is if we had Richarlison on the pitch instead of, say, Basuma, and we kind of made it a 3-4-3. The problem with that is that Son and Richarlison are going to be constantly defending all the time.
Yeah,
that's the problem, because these fullbacks keep going wide, and unless you want to leave space there, they're going to have to be constantly in these areas, and whether they're going to be effective there remains to be seen. Which is why that's why I'd go for the 3-5-2 and leave the other players high, leave those strikers
we've seen it
wide.
We've seen it before though, where that is the case, that our wingers are predominantly defending against Man City and against Liverpool as well at the back end of last season, but both of them got up the pitch so well, Kulusevski that is, and Son, and they impacted the attack so well.
They did.
So can that be a case again?
Yes, although what I would say is when you're playing Man City, you're usually not seeing the wing back in that area. You're usually seeing the wing back in this area, so they're more inverted. And when they're doing that, it's much more easier for one of the centre backs or a midfielder to pick one of them up. Whereas with Arsenal, when they got two players really high and wide, you're going to need players to go out wide and open up the space. When they're coming inside, the Man City players are not opening up the space. It's very congested, which is perfect for us. But for Arsenal, it's a bit different. They're going to force you out wide and force the spaces to be in the centre. So that's why I would clog up the centre as much as possible with those centre midfielders.
And that's a problem, right? For the majority of time we go to the Emirates, they just outnumber us in midfield. They have bundles of energy in their midfield, and they completely overrun us. So do you think that maybe if we do like clog up those central areas over there, that's a case of Arteta will be a bit thrown off and not think that we would do that, and he'll maybe assume that we are going 3-4-3?
I think it'd be a lot harder to plan for, just because of the fact that we don't usually play that way. So if they're studying us, they're going to be studying us in a 3-4-3 and not a 3-5-2. So I wouldn't say necessarily it's going to be a massive shock to the system if we do play 3-5-2, but just by the very nature we don't play as often, it makes it harder to plan for. So I just think logically it probably suits us better in this kind of fixture, because you got players like Xhaka, who's been very creative this season. He's going to to be floating around these areas here. You got Martin Odegaard in the centre on the edge of the area, who's going to be looking to pick the lock. You don't want to give them any sort of space or encouragement. So I would put Basuma is very good at. Last season he had one of the most tackles interceptions in the Premier League, if not the most, I think. So if he's floating around the area just breaking things up, and you add into that the defensive ability of Bentancur and Højbjerg, that's going to all of a sudden become very difficult for Arsenal to play through. On the flip side, on the wings, in the wing area, it's gonna mean that Højbjerg might have to do two jobs. He's gonna have to clog up the central areas, and when it goes out wide, he's gonna have to go over. But I believe it's much easier for him to do that in a 3 than it is in a 2.
100%. I mean, we've seen him try and do it in a 2 before, and we get completely overrun in the midfield. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there.
And then as well, what I think one good thing is it gets on central. And I think obviously the space is more out wide, but when he's central, he can go directly to goal, as opposed to when he's out wide. If there's defenders back, he might have to use a bit more dribbling. That direct running style is going to be harder to stop if he's running, a bit like Rashford against Man United. But if he's running it here, the diagonal run in between the two centre backs, and if Kane picks up the ball, if he can play that pass, that's a lot more dangerous than if we're maybe in a 3-4-3. And he's having to track back and use all that energy and then break forward. It might be a bit harder for him. So obviously they're going to have to do defensive ability as well, but I would keep them as high as possible, as much as possible, like we did when we played Liverpool back in, I think it was November, December time last season when we had to. And I think that could be the perfect way to combat this Arsenal system. And if it isn't working, you do have a player in Richarlison. You can either take off for one of Son or Kane and add more energy up front, or you can take him off for a centre mid and put him in and make it a 3-4-3 if it isn't working, and then you can change up, and all of a sudden it makes Arsenal rethink again if we do go over 3-4-3. And all of a sudden the advantage there is if we say take Basuma off, then you have two very quick runners in behind. The only problem is without Kulusevski there, you don't really have a player knitting it all together as well as he does, and it is a bit of a blow not having him, of course, losing an option.
And I think that's what you say there is a massive plus for us coming into this game, where we actually have options on the bench that can come on and realistically change the game. Arsenal don't really have that. They've pretty much got their plan A, and that's pretty much it for this weekend.
With Smith Rowe being out,
they got Nketiah. That's about it.
Yeah, the problem is if they have Nketiah, bring him on, they put a 2 up front, that gives us something else to think about. That could be a bit of an issue, and we might have to readjust our system if they were to do that. But apart from that, I know Fabio Vieira did well against Brentford, but is he much better than like what Odegaard has to offer? I'm not so sure. Smith Rowe's injured. He's not going to be playing. They don't really have a backup for Saka right now. So I think we have made... Well, if we had Kulusevski, we definitely would have better options. But if Richarlison starts on the bench, it's a brilliant player to bring on, and he always makes an impact.
Yeah, and, as well, and he can get under their skin as well.
Especially, imagine if we're winning as well, he's running down the clock and just...
I'd love to see him doing kick-ups at the Emirates,
Oh,
please.
my God. I'll pray if we're winning, even just by a goal, and he's doing kick-ups.
That'd be them. You know what's going to happen? We're going to be winning by a goal. He's going to do kick-ups, and they're going to equalise.
Oh, that would be the sweetest thing of all time.
No, that wouldn't be the sweetest thing. That would be awful.
No, if he was to just... if he was to frustrate them so much, that'd be so sweet. So that's why I'll probably start Richarlison off on the bench. The only thing is he's in great form, especially he's going 3 goals for Brazil. So do you want to have that firepower potentially on the bench for the game? But I think that's what I'll do, because if you start like this, then if we're losing, are you really going to change that? Are you really going to take off one of the front 3 if we're losing? It's going to be difficult to do that, isn't it? So that's why I would start with a 3-5-2, and I think it's better set up for our game anyway.
I completely agree. I mean, I've been saying since I saw that 3-5-2 against Leicester that I really want to see 3-5-2 against Arsenal. I think it's the formation that can really help us hit them every time they come forward, to be honest, if we can stay strong.
The only
Romero
problem,
against Xhaka is going to be big as well.
The only problem I see with the 3-5-2 is if one of these wing backs are not getting forward enough, then all of a sudden these front 2 could be quite isolated, and especially if they're not close to each other, all of a sudden if they're not getting the supply, it'll be way too... If these 2 start dominating the forwards, that becomes a bit of an issue, because then we're getting penned in, and then all of a sudden we have no outball because there's no width. to go to, and if they're dominating our forwards, then we're going to be penned in, and that's what we don't want. But at least if we are penned in, we have the tools to deal with it. That's the only thing I would say. But if obviously we're playing 3-4-3, there's more outballs. You can go Son or Richarlison out wide, and the wing backs as well are going to be there in for the width. So it's going to need one of Perisic or Emerson to be brave and be dominating on the wings.
Yeah, it's going to obviously have to fall down on Perisic, isn't it? But I think 3-4-3, I think we're just leaving ourselves too open in the middle, and it's just it'll be too similar as it is to every other game we play there, where we'll just get completely overrun in midfield. Odegaard, Partey and Xhaka will have a complete field day against R2, and ultimately we'll lose the game. I think if we do go to that 3 in the midfield, we'll come that much harder to get past and bypass that midfield, and it will give us some serious options, because any time Højbjerg, Bissouma or Bentancur can nick the ball in the middle of the park and spray us into an attack. It can happen at any moment in the game, where as opposed to when it's 3 against 2, it becomes so much more difficult.
But this is where, for me, we're not having a attacking midfielder or a ball playing midfielder in the centre is maybe against us, because if we
know Bentancur can do it though. That's the thing.
Not to a level of, say, like one of the some of the best in the league.
Not like to a level of Kane or De Bruyne, no. But I think that he can do it to a very high level though.
He's good. He's good. But I'm saying we don't have a really offensive centre midfielder, or even just a ball playing centre, like all the best teams have, like a Thiago or a De Bruyne, or like a Modric or a Jorginho, even like someone of that kind of mould who can really play a pass or even break forward as well. See, if we had Kulusevski fit, I would be very tempted to put him in a 3 in the middle and have him breaking forward like that. But with these 3, one of them is going to have to be the offensive one.
To be fair to Højbjerg, though,
and it's going to have to be Højbjerg.
Yeah, to be fair to him, though, he's been doing that role really well all season. I mean, how many chances has he created this season?
Yeah, it's true, and we're going to have to. But yeah, it is true. But the thing is, we don't usually rely on him. He's like a supplemental creative player. He pitches in when other players aren't doing it. But when you're relying on Højbjerg for real creativity, that's when you become a bit unstuck, I think.
I think we're not going to be solely reliant on him, though. Maybe from the midfield, yes, but you're going to have Perisic on one side, you're going to have Emerson on the other side, you're going to have Kane dropping deep as well for Sonny to run on in behind as well. So there are a few outballs there.
The only thing I would say is in this formation, it's going to be quite difficult for these wing backs to really get forward, because in the 3-4-3 you have the inside forwards occupying the defenders, and it gives the fullback something to think about, right? So then that leaves space for the wing back. In this formation, the fullback is going to be purely on that wing back, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to find that space. And if they're not finding the space, it does really rely on those 3 centre mids for the creativity. That could be a bit of an issue. They're all 3 decent passers in their own right. They're just not visionary attacking midfield passers, so they're going to have to find an extra element to their game and prove that they can step up creatively when needed.
Yeah, and I really want to see Longley step it up this weekend as well, because he's got such a great pass on him. I mean, he could be the one where he's got it at the back and plays a Hollywood ball out to Son and he's in on goal, you know what I mean? Like, he's got that in his locker.
All three of our backline are good passers if they're playing together.
But Longley should be like a level above the Romero and Dyer in terms of ball playing ability. What we've seen from him in a Barcelona shirt, in a Sevilla shirt, first game against Fulham was it as well. I mean, I want to see a really good display from Longley this weekend.
Yeah, me too. And I think more importantly is defensively. We need him on point. That's the most important thing. Yeah. So this isn't going to be easy. Whatever system you play, there's going to be give and take. There's no perfect system. So it's all about maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses. I just think in this formation right now, that gives us the best chance to get at Arsenal. And I really believe if we play that 3-4-3, we're going to be 2 pen back. I think with that 3-5-2, at least it leaves the option of Son and Kane up front to really create something and try and exploit the space. And I also think it clogs up that central area, which Arsenal really thrive on.
All right, so how do you see the game going then?
Yeah, I think I said in my predictions I had 2-2 draw, which I think would be a good result for Spurs. I think it's just the fact that Arsenal are in such high spirits right now. I think the fact that they're top of the league.
It's time to bring them back down to earth.
I'm praying that we do that, and I do think we're obviously capable of that, 100%. I'm not saying that we're no chance of winning. I just think that right now, because their confidence is so high, I think that they are going to have a good game tomorrow, and that's going to make it difficult for us to come away with the win. But I do think that we're clever enough to create our opportunities when we do get the ball, and I can see us definitely giving Arsenal some trouble. So I'm going for a 2-2 draw.
I'm going for a 3-2 win. I've said it all week and I'm going to stick by it. I think it's going to be literally some sort of end-to-end game. I think that apart from the first half an hour, first half, we're going to really need to ride the wave, and I think we can do that. And even if we just go into half-time 1-0 down, I still think we're going to have opportunities to go and win that game. I'm expecting it to go to to and fro. It's going to be a really so much of a roller coaster game tomorrow morning, and I'm not quite ready for that, but we're going to have to be. But I'm going to go for it being 2-0, 2-all going into the latter stages of the game, and Richarlison to come on and knit that winner whilst doing some kiki ups as well. But now I'm going for 3-2 to Spurs. My brother going 2-2. Let me know in the comment section below what you think the scoreline is going to be. But just before we bring on guests, let's get into BetMate as well. There's a £750 guaranteed pot this week for just a £5 entry. So let's go and have a look at the teams that we've picked. In my team, I've got Lloris in goal, Christian Romero and Ben White at the back. I think Romero is going to be a busybody for sure in this game, and Ben White could be the same, playing at right back up against potentially Heung-min Son. In the middle, I've gone for Højbjerg and Xhaka. I think both of them are going to be real busybodies in terms of tackles and interceptions. And then up front, I've got Kane and Son. Need I say more? But what's your team?
Yeah, fairly similar, but the defender's a bit different. I've got Lloris in goal, because I think he could be in for a busy afternoon. I think I've gone for Perisic and Saliba, only because I think I reckon with Perisic there, they're going to attack his side and quite a bit. And he, first of all, he could make some tackles, and if we do get set pieces and he gets forward, he could do something. Saliba, I think, is playing very well at the moment for Arsenal, so I can see him doing some stuff. And then I've also got Xhaka and Højbjerg, and I also have Son and Kane up front as well, with Højbjerg captain and Son vice. I think as much as Kane loves a North London derby, I actually do see Son as our biggest threat going forward on Saturday.
And recently, in recent history, I mean, he scored a lot of goals against Arsenal, hasn't he?
He has. I think last season
got 2-3.
Both, I think, well, if you include the friendly, he got 3, I think. I think both him and Kane got 2 each.
Yeah.
2 each against Arsenal. But yeah, check the banner below to sign up, and you get £10 free for BetMate to make your own team, and then play the weekend's game for free. Use the code in the banner below. Yeah,
absolutely. It's so fun. I mean, if you guys play Fantasy League anyway, you got to get on this. Come and take us on. Come and take some Gooners on, and win some money in the meantime as well. So absolutely fun to play. Let us know who you are picking in your BetMates in the comment section below. But that is our match preview. I'm going for 3 points at the Emirates. Sim's going for a point in a 2-all draw, which I tell you now, I'll snatch your hand off for right now, a 2-all draw at the Emirates. But look, I think it's time to get some guests on, and without further ado, let's get Brian on. Yes, Brian, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, it's going okay, boys. How are you? Happy New Year to you both.
Is it unplugged again?
Oh, for God's sake!
Not unplugged. Yeah, it is. It is unplugged. It's unplugged again. Sorry, Brian.
Unbelievable.
We just don't want to hear what you got to say. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, that's what most people say.
Everyone else can hear you, but we can't.
Yeah,
there you go.
Oh, you can hear. I tell you what, I have to say, you had all that funky new stuff in the back end with the tactics, the formation, but when it comes to your bread and butter, you can't get it to work.
Found wanting. Have you got the shirt? Have you got the shirt on already, Brian, or is it you wait?
No,
not yet.
And you know what? KPV just ordered that shirt.
Do you know what? It's ready to go. Listen, it's been a wonderful show, and your show is still earlier, Sim, talking formation, players, how we play. It doesn't matter, as The Rock would say. This is being worn, and we know what happens. We know what happens. The stain will remain, and the streak will continue.
Brian, talk me through your thoughts coming into this game. I know how much you hate them lot down the road. So talk to me about your feelings coming into it.
Listen, I mean, for me, and Ben, we've spoken about this probably a long time. For me, what happens when we take the trip down to the field at the Emirates? There's that saying, play the match, not the occasion. But we go to the Emirates, and Arsenal do it when they come to us. They play the occasion, not the game. We've got to stop that. And for years and years and years, obviously, me watching it from Toronto, thousands, millions watching it around the world, you guys watching it at the stadium, every single time we get overrun in midfield. Every single time, regardless what happens, it just keeps happening. I mean, the last one with Nuno, I don't even really want to talk about because we only actually had one player in midfield, Højbjerg, and Dele and Bye just did absolutely nothing.
With Skip on the bench.
Yeah, we have to just say, do you know what? We're not getting overrun again. We're not having this happen. We're locking this midfield down. And there's people saying if Kulusevski was fit, maybe play them as a 10 or let Kane drop in as a 10 to make that third midfielder. Do you know what? With any other game, I like that idea. It's more attacking. It's more suited to our style. But I think with this game, we need three solid midfielders that can just lock down this midfield and say, you ain't overrunning us, you ain't overloading us. We're going to match you up. And if you're not going three in midfield, we're going to be ahead of you, and we're going to get the ball to the front two, whoever they are. I have my feelings on that, and let them do what they do. I think it's imperative that we play three. If we play 3-4-3, I'm concerned. I will be concerned.
Well,
if we go three.
Well, Brian, last season at the Etihad, we played 3-4-3, didn't we? And we ended up with a very positive result. We didn't look overrun in that game. So could that be a template for how we play in this game? Or do you think that with Arsenal in such great form at the moment... Oh, hello. There's someone who's got a friend there. Hello, Simba. Do you think that game... I thought
you were just happy to see me, Brian.
Do you think how we played in that game doesn't have a bearing on how we can play in this one?
Yeah, do you know what, Simeon? Obviously, we were there for that game together, three of us.
We were.
And that game is Man City. Yes, it's a big game. Yes, this is another level. This is another level that means so much more. And we seem to be Man City's bogey team, and it just seems to happen. But I just feel that it's got to be, for me personally, it's got to be three in midfield. And I agree with you about Richarlison on the bench. And the only reason I'm going with Richarlison, there's two reasons. First of all, Son and Kane in this game, they know how to find the back of the net. In a two, they can do what they do, and they're just telepathic. But Richarlison coming on, can you imagine he comes on when, let's say, Xhaka's on a yellow card or a couple of defenders on a yellow card? You know exactly what this guy's going to do. He's just going to come on and just absolutely terrorise them and literally just go for that red card. And I think him coming off the bench is a vital weapon in this fixture. I think he's vital to come off the bench and do what he does best.
When you're looking at Arsenal, Brian, or the filth, sorry, I didn't mean to swear at you like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're looking at them lot, we've seen a lot of false dawns from Arsenal over the years where maybe they go through really good patches and then they fall off. I mean, how are you assessing them right now? Do you think this is another false dawn, or are they becoming into one of the real deals in the Premier League?
It's hard for me to say this because obviously my hatred for that lot. Listen, they bought well in the summer. There's no denying it. Zinchenko was a great addition for them in the style of play they want to play, as was Jesus. They are playing some very good football. They are playing. There's no getting away with it. The style of football they're playing is more like, not in the same league, but more like the Wenger kind of free-flowing, attacking, as opposed to what we'd seen previously. And it is a concern. Their main rival, or the main test they got, they obviously fell away in, but they look a different outfit this time. But we know they normally fall off at Christmas, And I think this, when we go into this game, there's a huge if they please God, and the shirt is no longer lucky and they win, that sends a statement out saying, listen, they're not messing around this time. They are going to do what they do. But if we can get the win, I think that sends shockwaves down the Premier League. This is a place they've gone to. They've gone and got a victory. They're still undefeated. Not saying that means we're going to win the league. Not one of those that say we're going to win the league. But I think either side of the coin, a victory for either of these teams send out a message. And you were talking about Saliba, and Saliba has looked very, 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 very impressive. Really impressive. Scoring. I mean, the goal he scored against Bournemouth, his defensive performances. But again, he hasn't come up against a big team. He hasn't played in the intensity of a North London derby. The occasion could get to him. It may not. He is a concern. Let's get this right. For me, he's one of the defenders of the season so far, and I hate admitting it. But it's a game where form and everything, as we know, goes completely out the window.
How much of a blow is not having Kulusevski for you?
Do you know what? It is, because if we went 3-5-2, I would love to have seen him at right wing back. Love to have, because I think if he had gone forward, well, listen, I know he's not a right wing back, but we've heard that he could possibly play there. And if we did a 3-5-2 and he went up forward and he was out of position, you got that extra midfielder to kind of cover him not being there. I think this may force his hand more for a 3-5-2. I really do. Obviously, we'd love him to be fit and raring to go, but I don't see him risking him, because obviously the amount of games coming. Do you rush him back and then flare up and risk him for more, or is it not as serious as thought? But if there's any shadow of a doubt, like you guys reported first, then I wouldn't risk it.
At least someone realised.
Thank you, Brian.
Mate, listen, you know me when it comes to you guys. You put it out first, and when it comes to these things, unfortunately, your source comes through and is on the money. And you did it at the last North London derby with Romero, and look what happened. So yeah, I personally wouldn't risk him at any point, even on the bench, because we know this month and next month there is a hell of an amount of games to come, and we can't risk his injury getting worse. I would not risk him for this game, but I think this may be a kind of little blessing in disguise, because I think this may force him into a 3-5-2.
Brian, I've got a favour to ask. Can you please just tonight just lock that shirt away? Don't let your wife even get a glimpse of it. You need to lock it up, chain and key, man. You need to lock it up.
All I will say is this, Simeon and Ben, you know what I'm going through right now with all this shit. If that shirt was to go in the wash, then all hell would break loose. There would be absolute scenes. Sky News and all the news channels would be saying we report Toronto where a man is on a rampage, and you wouldn't even need to know who it was. The shirt is under lock and key. The shirt is sacred. The shirt is going nowhere. Trust me on that one.
Josh King said if we don't lose tomorrow and you're wearing the shirt, then he wants it only reserved for big occasions after tomorrow. That's it. Only for top 6 games.
Yeah, but does he want to risk going the season unbeaten?
Yeah, but listen, like I said to you, with this shirt, people were saying, "Did you wear it for the Champions League for Marseille?" And I said at Marseille, I am not risking this for anything other than the Premier League, because I'm not risking another competition. It's been lucky.
Would you not wear it in the Champions League final, Brian?
Well, please God, we're still invincible because we haven't lost. And then I might just test it in the Champions League. I might just say, right, do you know what? I'll give in to this game, but
have you tried the shirt for anything else? Have you maybe got luck for anything else in your life with the shirt?
You know what? Maybe I should go out and wear it today and buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah,
maybe that's what I should. Maybe that's what I should do. But listen, at the moment, I'm not risking it on anything else. And I tell you what, if we don't go, please God we win. But if we don't get a defeat tomorrow after all the years of not turning up there, and that shirt, honestly, I've said, please God we win a trophy or we win anything. Once the streak is over, I'm literally going to have this shirt washed, framed, and give it to you to put in the back to say this is the shirt that did it. It'll be like your own football museum.
All right. Brian, tell me, how do you see the game panning out? What's your score prediction?
So I'll give you the score prediction, then I'm going to do a little plug. I'm going, if we play three in midfield from the start, a 3-1 or a 3-2. If it's two, if we start 3-4-3, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned, but we might scrape a draw. It's. I think that midfield three is so pivotal to it. But yeah, just wanted to plug to just let people know. First of all, Tottenham on tour are now 20 away from 5,000. We apologise for the lack of content recently. There's just some issues going on at the moment with everyone concerned, so it's put a pause to it. But tonight, as always, on this very channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 1 a.m. back home and whatever that works out around the world, the Late Late Show on We Are Tottenham TV is going to be back, and it's going to be a North London derby bonanza. Me and Bobby Kay are doing it because Brian Island is working till late. We're going to have a little brief discussion about North London derbies past, memories and whatever. But rather than when we normally talk for an hour and a bit and then bring guests on, we're going to talk for about half an hour, 45 at most, and then bringing guests on. And one thing I will say, which I'm delighted to say, Ben, do you remember when we were speaking and I said we had a new guy that came on from Korea, an English dude from Korea that came on Friday?
Yeah.
He is in the comments on the back end now. So when Gabby, Earth of Spurs, whatever he's called it. Yeah, Earth of Spurs comes on. That's the dude, and I'm delighted to see him coming on this show after making his debut on the Late Late Show last Friday, and hopefully tonight.
All right. Big up, Brian. We shall
Come
see you
on,
later. Come on,
please,
you Spurs.
I forgot. The other thing I'm doing for the love of you guys is obviously it's a 7:30 kickoff tomorrow. The Scotland Yard is opening, and obviously the pump up is at 6 a.m.
Come on.
So rather than having to commute on the train or be on an Uber, my alarm is set for 4:30 in the morning.
Don't sleep through it, Brian. Don't sleep through it.
Get ready. Get up. Get ready. Get an Uber. So I'm outside the Scotland Yard for 6 a.m. ready for the pump up. No interruptions.
Don't sleep through it.
Oh, mate, trust me. After the pump up, I am going to bed. 58 alarms being. I'm setting an alarm for every single minute past 4 o'clock. I will be there. Trust me.
I hope you get to watch the game then. Don't fall asleep before the game.
Oh no, the Scotland Yard. Hell yeah! And hopefully Cody's coming down. Hopefully Cody's coming down again. So looking forward to seeing Cody. But everyone, have a wicked weekend. There's a guy that was in the comments, Rich Frith. It's his birthday tomorrow. Hope Spurs give you the biggest birthday present ever. Everyone have a wicked weekend. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Spurs. Big up, Brian. Got a super chat here. Members chat from Avmaster, a member for 8 months, saying, under all circumstances, we need to be prepared for the first 30 minutes pressure at the start. Love your work. Come on, you Spurs.
Big up, Avmaster. I agree. I think the opening part of this game, if you're not careful, they can blow you away. So you just got to be super on it just from the start. But if you can keep it tight, keep it together, be well organised and frustrate them, then the gaps will start to open. All of a sudden we can exploit them, I think.
Let's keep going with the guests, and a person that was name dropped in the last caller. This is Gabby, Earth of Spurs. How you doing, my friend?
How you doing, guys? I was literally like, I just came home from work. Yeah, I'm living in Korea. Came home from work like 10:30, and it was like, oh, We Are Tottenham TV are on live. Come join us. So I was like, oh yes, but I was gonna get an early night because I was gonna go on with Brian in the morning. So it's all good. I'll do it now and in the morning. That's great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. Seeing as you're living in Korea, did you get to any of the pre-season friendly?
You don't know how annoyed I am. So I'm just there working while everyone I know is just at this game. I don't even know how they got tickets because we got sold out in like less than 20 minutes. So yeah, I was so annoyed. But I was living in China when Spurs came to China. I went to that. That was amazing.
Oh, amazing. But, big North London derby. Obviously, you're living far away, but do you feel connected to it all? And how are you feeling coming into this one?
So yeah, I do feel connected to it all because, as you know, Korea is full of Spurs fans. Like every little kid, it's so weird. Every little kid is like, yeah, I like football. And I'm like, oh, who do you support? They're like Tottenham, and I'm like, wow, this is so
It's like
nice
a
to
Tottenham
hear.
wonderland out in Korea.
It is hard, mate. You have no idea. Even people who don't necessarily follow football, like any guy, any girl, would be like, oh, do you follow football? No. Do you know Son and Min? Yeah, I know Sonny. Oh yeah. But yeah, North London derby. I have to say, I'm a realist, and I don't really think we've been playing our best football. And the sad thing is, I think Arsenal have been playing quite well. And I was literally on my way home just now. I was listening to, I think, ESPN, and they said, yeah, they haven't played like the best teams in the league, but the average position has actually been 11th, and ours has apparently been 14th. So apparently they've been playing better playing teams than we have, and we haven't even been playing that well. And against Leicester in the first half, they had 60% possession. So honestly, I think with Arsenal, we just have to really get in at half time with a decent scoreline.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very very difficult the way Arsenal are playing right now. How would you set up in terms of the different formations people are talking about? Some people are saying we should change to a 3-5-2, but with Richarlison in such good form, would you leave him on the bench? What would your lineup look like?
So yeah, I mean that is the question for us, isn't it? We did get overrun in the midfield last year, but as Brian said, we had Ndombele or Ndombaiba, as he said, and Delhi, and it really was only Højbjerg. And actually, when we changed things up in the second half, we had 64% possession, which you wouldn't like expect. And we did play a 3-4-3 against them at home, but that was at home. So like home advantage, like yeah, the Emirates is usually a library, but against us, they go crazy when they score, and yeah, I'll play it safe and play like 3-5-2.
When you're looking at Arsenal, who are you most fearful of? Who are their biggest danger men for you?
Definitely Gabriel Jesus, because he has such freedom now and he's enjoying his football. We know, like, when people enjoy their football, they usually play better. Smith Rowe, I'm always scared of him, especially against us, because he's an Arsenal boy, so he'll want to win even more. Saka as well. I'm glad Smith Rowe's not playing. So it's mainly Gabriel Jesus and Saka. I guess Odegaard as well.
With Saka as well, he could really be coming up against Perisic on that side of the pitch. And, with Perisic, sorry, we've seen how frail, well, not how frail, but, he has been quite frail defensively in certain games this season. Is that something maybe you're worried about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was against Leicester, actually, that people got past him. Anyone with speed got past him kind of easily. And I do agree that I would actually consider, not definitely, but I would consider putting Cesc there to combat, that Saka threat. It's just pure speed and skill, which Perisic, yeah, I don't know, like just switching off for that second could be fatal.
But then we do lose something going the other end of the pitch, don't we? And if we do have Sessegnon and Emerson as wing backs, and we are playing a 3-5-2, is there enough going forward?
Yeah, let's not talk about Emerson, because I really don't want to be harsh on him. And I saw today that he spent like a bucket load of money to improve his game, like scouting and nutrition and all that. And I just feel like I've been harsh on him. So like just for today, I'll talk about the other side of the pitch. But yeah, like Sessegnon's not been that bad, but against Arsenal, we need like good delivery. So going forward, we could rely on Perisic more than Sessegnon. But Sessegnon would be good as a second half option.
Well, in terms of how both teams set up, when you look at Arsenal, how they play, do you think about it, the fact that they are going to be very aggressive, they're going to come at us and try and win the game. Do you see that as a positive, in a sense that we like teams to leave space in behind and we can attack them? Or do you see it as a negative, in the sense that we could get overrun and they could create chances and it's going to be difficult to deal with?
I think that always depends on how the game actually goes. Like when we had Mourinho, we were inviting so much pressure, And then when we did win, it would be like, oh yeah, tactical genius. But then when we lost, it like, why are we just inviting pressure? So, it could be good if we get the game plan right, and Sonny finds the space, we find the delivery to our attack. But Arsenal really do like to overrun and play really attacking football in the first half. So that's why I say, like, if we can survive until half time, we got a chance.
So what's your score prediction?
Yeah, so I was saying to Brian last week. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit of a pessimist. To be honest, this is my optimistic prediction. I would say 1-1, unless we do play really well and we have a decent scoreline at halftime. But 1-1, I would probably take a 1-1. To be honest, so yeah, 1-1.
All right,
nice
Gabby.
one, mate.
Thanks for coming on today. I know you were on Brian's show
Well,
last week, but do call in again. Great call.
Yeah, loved it. Thank you, guys.
Cheers,
Gabby.
mate. That was Gabby. Great call from him. And from one great to another, let's bring on the Jorical people. Jory, long time no speak. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Yeah, not bad. I mean,
Jory.
this is a game I really hate. I hate this fixture going away to Arsenal. I mean, it's usually the same story every year. But are you looking at this game a bit differently this year? Yeah.
I can't hear him. Hello, Jory?
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. We're back live. You're called Aravind for this call. No, I'm joking. But no, carry on with what you were saying.
Yeah. No, you were asking if I felt this year is different, and I would definitely say yeah. I feel it's quite a bit different this year. I mean, we've had the preseason. We've seen, like we've talked about. We've been disappointed about how we're playing. I wouldn't say I've been disappointed. I've been disappointed with the senior players, but I've been really happy about our lesser players. They're holding structure, discipline, and clearly executing the drills that are being trained all week. So I couldn't be any happier with that part of the game, which is usually what kind of gives us the inconsistency. So, and to be honest, I think it's a North London derby, so I expect Son and Kane and Dyer, everybody to turn up for that. So even though we also kind of go crumpling sometimes in the Emirates, but I am optimistic. I do think what Arsenal is doing is only gonna work at a certain level of opponent. When you meet this kind of resolve in defense, this kind of tactical structure and discipline, it's gonna come crumbling a little bit. I do think they're gonna run on a wall, and the break is gonna be brutal on them. I do think Arteta is too Latin, macho, stupid, you name it, to not. He's gonna play his game. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove, and he's gonna be proven wrong. And so yeah, I'm feeling optimistic, but I do see how we can get in trouble. I sent you a couple of. By the way, Sim, big up for the show yesterday. It was really, really interesting, and Stel as well. You did a great job.
Thank you.
For me, in general, with our team, apart from our senior guys really firing, even though Kane's been scoring, and he's been good. I'm not saying he's been bad, but we know Kane can be much better. And of course, the whole Sonny thing, we've talked about that endlessly. It's hopefully over. He certainly had a 14-minute spell there that completely silenced everything that came his way. So let's hope that in a kind of normal state, and also just this international break hasn't been too much of a break in the training and the continuity there, so but yeah, I think we're going to sit back, we're going to break on them. I can see us though take periods really early in the game where we really go for the goal. And for me, yeah, in general, I was going to say, in general, I think like a big key to this team as it is now is that if we can, for example, tomorrow, if we can be 5 in the middle, and then on the break go to a 3-4-3, then like it's game over. That's what I'm dreaming of when we're fluently going without substitution between these systems. Means we're going to be solid when we're off the ball and completely deadly when we're on the ball, so
how do we do that, Jory, without how do we
Kulu.
do that? Kulu?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, the way I see we do it without any substitution is that either Kane or Kulu take on the 10 role,
Kulu's out. It looks like Kulu's out.
He's probably going to be this one, yeah. So without him, how do we do it?
Yeah, so that would then be Kane. And I mean, Kane is even better. Like for me, Kane is one of the best number 10s in the league, so even though he's not a number 10, so to speak, but when he plays that role, few people do it better than him. Some days nobody does it better than him actually. So I could see something like that, and I do think at least as a primary plan, I do think leaving possession to them is the way to go. I don't think we should be playing them at that game. I don't think we should be trying to go possession against possession. Not at all. I don't think we should go high up the park or anything. People talk about low block and stuff like that. I always kind of feel like we're kind of mid block more than a low block.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys, yeah.
Agree.
So
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. So that's what I like in general. This is what I like. This is why I have a kind of a bias towards Italian managers and stuff like that, is because they have such a sense, like they don't roll the dice on that stuff. I do feel sometimes the high line, the gegenpress and all of that, it's a little bit hipster football. Like you need to have common sense on it. There's a lot of great things to be had from those systems and that thinking, but you don't go in like what Arteta is going to do towards us, I expect, is what you should never do. It's naive, it's stupid, it's,
So do you think that plays into our hands, the fact they're going to come at us a bit? Do you think that plays into us?
Yeah, no, I mean, what suicidal thinking is that, to play a high line against the best counter-attacking team in the world, in my view, I think even Man City can't get away with it. How is Arsenal going to get away with it? So, and I mean, Liverpool has been super lucky for a lot of games. So I can only rejoice that Arteta is so immature, that he's so stubborn and immature that he's going to go and do exactly what he shouldn't be doing. He should be more pragmatic, but I doubt that he's going to be it.
What do we do if they do throw a curveball and they decide to set up differently just for this game, maybe a bit lower? Do you think, is there any chance they do that? And are we in trouble if they do?
Well, it's a much more dangerous game than for us, I think, Ben. And then I do feel like we still have, I mean, unless they go right to a low block, which they might do in period, I can see them. I mean, that would be clever play, I would say, for them to do that, but I don't expect it. But if they did that, then my general thing is that, especially when we got Sonny, how good Sonny is shooting outside of the box. We need to pepper their goals with box to bring them out. We need to stretch them. And we just, if that becomes the case, for me, it's a question of we simply need to have enough shots, and shots on target preferably, but just make sure that we finish all our attacks in the last third, because we can. That frustrates the hell out of me. I would rather see them sky a ball once in a while than just let it, fizzle out to nothing, which we do too often when we're meeting these low block teams. But I would be shocked if we see that more than a short period, So, I mean, that would be a kind of like a philosophical concession, or like a football philosophical towel in the ring from Arteta, I would say, if he was to do that, So, and I think he's way too proud to do that,
I completely agree.
Do you see us playing with the 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 with the three in the middle, the three midfielders?
I mean, I think it's going to be the 3-5-2. Also, Kulus is out. So, but I wouldn't mind. I mean, if we lose trying out the fluid formation change tomorrow, I'll kind of almost accept it. Not that I'm ever going to accept a defeat to Arsenal, but it will have some. It won't sting as bad, I would say, because that's something I really am looking as a way that we can really go to the next level in terms of competing. But I do expect it's going to be the three-man midfield tomorrow. And I'm gonna feel a little bit better about it, to be honest, because like if they have Partey, at least we're gonna have a struggle with the double pivot. I think we're not gonna get away. I mean, I think we're gonna get killed in the midfield, so we won't have the transition that we need for the quick break. So.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, Jory. But how are you thinking the game's going to run? Can we go there and win? What's your score prediction?
We are going to go there and
Come
win.
on, that's what I'm talking about.
And we're going to stop this silly tradition of losing at their home and winning at our home. We're starting a new tradition of winning and winning. Just that. And I'm going to go for, I think we're going to score within the first 20 minutes. And it's probably going to be a wing back. And then we'll go into the break 1-0 up, and then we'll put 2 in the second half. So 3-0.
3-0. That is
3-0.
some confidence. I love that, Jory. Absolutely love that.
Going win 3-0, that would be brilliant.
You need to get one of Brian's lucky shirts if you want that. Scoreline to come in.
Well, this one's getting pretty dirty. I might keep it on till tomorrow. Let's see.
Brilliant.
Big up, Jory. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care, guys. Great show as always.
Nice one.
Thanks,
Cheers,
mate.
Jory.
See you later. Come on, you Spurs. Big up. Oh, and look who we have here. Look who we have coming on next. Something inside so strong. Oh, no.
Yes,
how you doing,
boys.
Barry? How you feeling, brother?
I am just getting excited for tomorrow lunchtime. Just getting excited. We don't need to worry about anything. Brian's got his lucky shirt. I'm undefeated in watch-alongs. So what's going to go wrong? Nothing.
Exactly. What's there to be worried about, hey?
Exactly. And look, we haven't won in 12 years or whatever. Records are there to be broken. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow lunchtime. We'll be come 3 o'clock, top of the league. Our AFTV is going to be in the mud. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it really will be. And, there's been a lot of talk coming into this game, especially after the Leicester game. Do we go 3-4-3? Do we go 3-5-2? With Kulusevski being out, does that force Conte's hand a little bit?
Yeah, I think it does. I think we would all probably be. I think if we go 3-4-3, it's going to be a disaster because they'll overrun us in that midfield. And we've seen in the previous games against, let's say, lesser opposition, they've had a lot more chances. And I don't think, like with what Sim was saying, I don't think we can afford to give Arsenal the chances that we've given the teams that we have done in the last few weeks because they will punish us. So I think, look, I'm toying whether we go Perisic right wing back and Cess on the left. That's potentially what we could do, and there could be a curveball thrown in with Skip coming in instead of Basuma. Everyone's thinking it could be Basuma, but I wouldn't be surprised if Skip's ready, then he goes straight in based on what he's done before. So
yeah, definitely. When you're looking at the setup that we're going into this game, there's been a lot of talk about how we should set up formation-wise. Do we put an extra central midfielder in there? Do we keep the same formation as we've been playing with another forward? Which midfielder would you like to see in the team if we did put one in?
I think that Conte said about Basuma still struggling with the way that we're playing. Skippy played in the week. He's fresh. He knows the system. Like you said, Ben, he was thrown in as a 19-year-old. So he's come back a lot stronger than what he was before. I'd like to see Skippy in there with Højbjerg and Bentancur. Because then
he
it
was
gives
our
us
best
an
player
option.
by far there last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And when you were talking about how Skippy was before he got injured, he probably was our best player or one of our best players. So, yeah, for me, I'd love to see Skippy get in there, and just really, put a bit of pressure on Mr. Southgate to make some interesting decisions for the World Cup because
with Phillips injured, there's a spot there probably.
Yeah. There is, and look, So for me, I'd love to see Skippy go in there. He'll be bang up for it, and it also gives us an option of Basuma coming on. We've got the option. I think what we saw against Leicester, those last 15-20 minutes with Basuma coming on, I think it's the type of game that is built for him to come on and make an impact off the bench. Because with Kulu out, to bring on Basuma, Richarlison, that could have a massive impact on 65, 70 minutes if we need to change it up a little bit. Either way. So,
What's your score prediction, Barry?
3-2.
Come on,
3-2.
Who's going to get the goals?
Well, Harry Kane loves North London derby, so and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a penalty. So I think it's going to be incidents tomorrow. There's going to be penalties, red cards. It's all going to go off between Conte and our.
Oh, is he frozen there?
Or is it Wirecast?
No, I think it's him.
Harry's
He's
there.
He's back.
He's back. So yeah, I think it'll be. Look, I think it'll be incident. There'll be incidents all over throughout this game. It's going to be. We're going to need that shithousery from Richarlison. Like you said, I'd love him to come on and start doing keepy ups right in front of Arteta, and then Xhaka comes and gets sent off or something ridiculous like that. But yeah, 3-2 win. It's going to be a great day. We'll be top of the league by the end of it, and happy days.
All right, looking forward to it, and
Barry.
catch Barry on the watch along tomorrow. 12:30 kickoff, obviously, but let's do it, Barry. Let's go there and take 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely, boys, and enjoy the game. Don't be worried. Don't be worried about it. Everyone in the comments worrying about it. Don't be worried. Get excited. Believe. We got 13 games now before the World Cup. We're going to be there or thereabouts, and we're just gonna set the world on fire.
We're just going to find something inside so strong. I know you want to say it, Barry. I know you want to say it.
We are. We're going to find something inside so strong tomorrow. And look, we're on an amazing run, and we're just going to keep it up and keep it continuing tomorrow.
Big up, Barry. Thanks for calling. Good to see you, and we'll speak soon.
Speak soon, boys. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Big up. We've got a super chat here from Beto saying, big for us that Kulu is being out, but 5-2 to Spurs, new and improved Tottenham. Come on, you Spurs. 5-2.
That'd be all right, wouldn't it? We've lost a couple of 5-2s, haven't we? But
we have.
I'll definitely
so it's time for revenge, isn't it? It's time for revenge, although Arsenal would probably think it's time for their revenge, seeing as how we completely put them in the mud at the back end of last season. But we've got the Harry Kane North London derby killer. KPV,
Hello,
how you doing, mate?
I'm good.
What's happening? What's happening?
Nice
How are you
to see you,
feeling
mate.
about the game?
I'm feeling good and I'm feeling quite excited. Like, no need to worry. Brian Degger's got his lucky shirt. Barry's on the feed and watch along, and
I
I'm
think
on
you're
the
going to
feed.
have a lucky shirt soon, Kyle, aren't you?
Yeah, like it should be coming tomorrow. I think I ordered it.
Yeah, it will be coming. Maybe not tomorrow, but it will come very soon. Don't you worry about
But
that.
I'm still undefeated in any shirt I've worn, and Kulu's out. But the good thing
Does
is
that
he's
mean
never
every
lost
time
an
we
Australian
lose that
derby.
you're not wearing a shirt?
Well, what?
You topless every time we lose?
Well, like, I'm not going to wear the new shirts I've got. I'd rather wear the old ones. The one,
Fair
like,
enough.
yeah, but I'm going to say this as you probably didn't hear. If Kulu's out, which is, he's never lost the North London derby. Kulu's lost. If he's not playing, he's still undefeated. He made his debut when we beat them 3-0, and Perisic has already scored against them. That was with Klopp's old team, Dortmund. So Perisic knows how to score against them, and let's see if he can. But this game, like whoever wins goes top and will be top by 3 o'clock tomorrow and Monday. So I want to win this game, man. In it, honestly, like I'm sick of losing to these. Like, every time we go there, like yeah, we haven't won there since I believe 2018, the Carabao Cup. We won 2-0. You guys were there. Son and Ali, like we want to happen. He got had a bottle of thrown at him, but let's get the win. 3-2. Repeat of 2010, mate. Who better than to end that than Antonio Conte? Like, yeah, Conte's only lost once. But look what he did. Changed formation, won the league, and got a draw the next season. So who better than to end it than him? Like, he's got Arteta's number, but Arteta's never actually faced him. That was only one, and that was as Arsenal manager. But Arteta could become the first Arsenal boss to lose, I believe, 4 North London derbies. Is it?
Really? Is
Four.
that right? That might be right.
Yeah.
Well, Wenger must have lost 4, surely.
No, he's
4? Yeah, surely
Yeah.
he did.
We won 2-1 in
Danny
July
Rose.
2020. Toby Alderweireld got the winner. Then we won 2-0 in December 2020, May 2022, 3-0. But